Welcome to the LandLife podcast with your host, PJ Riley.
Hey guys, welcome to the LandLife podcast. Guys, today I have to admit something. I have to admit that I may have sinned, and I may have made a podcasting sin. So this is the second time Brenden and I are speaking, because the first time, even though Brenden told me, he said, your audio sucks, you should probably fix it. And me, like looking at him like a monkey with a math problem, didn't fix it. And so our first round podcast was terrible. It didn't work out. The audio was really, really bad. So I messaged Brenden. I'm like, hey, dude, any chance you would be willing to do this again? I really want to talk to you. And he was gracious, and he's an awesome guy. So Brenden agreed that he would come back on and talk to us. He's got an awesome story. He's just an awesome guy all around. So it's Brenden Kumarasamy. He's out of Montreal, Canada. And I know you speak French, so I want you to say something in French. Now listen, I want you to say, and here, this is going to be a controversial thing to say. So this may spark a debate between the United States and Canada. This may cause an international, I don't know.
What is this? What are you going to have me say? I like maple syrup in French, or what?
Canadian bacon is the only real bacon.
Canadian bacon.
In French.
Okay, le bacon canadien est le seul bacon qui compte.
Goodness gracious. That just started an international dispute. There will be people throwing snowballs at each other from the Canadian-US border. I don't know. All right. Anyway, guys, if you are getting value from this podcast, and if you're, enjoying the content, if you want me to keep getting great guests like Brenden, do me a favor, like, subscribe, leave a comment too. Leave a comment in the comment section if you get a chance. It's very helpful to do that. Okay, guys, today we have Brenden Kumarasamy. Brenden, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're like a master communicator. You teach people how to, speak in public, how to speak online. I've learned a ton of stuff from you. Maybe start kind of let us know how you got started in this industry. It's kind of not a normal thing for people to do, but it's super interesting, and kind of let us know how you got started and what got us to this point here.
Yeah, absolutely, PJ. Great to be on, man. So when I was in university, I used to do these things called case competitions. I went to business school. And case competitions are like presentations that a lot of nerds my age did back then. So it's kind of like football that you got on the back there, but for more, I guess, the intellectuals of the world. But anyways, not to say that sports isn't intellectual, but you get the point. So as I was getting older and I started doing more of these competitions, I started coaching people who were younger than me. Not really for money back then, PJs, because we needed a coach and they needed to get at these competitions, and I was the only person there. So I guess I got the spot. So I started helping them with speaking. And before long, 3 years went by, and I'd coached like 50 to 70 people on how to communicate ideas. So I developed my own expertise on how to teach these people, but none of the stuff that I had was teaching them was available for free online. So that's what sparked the idea for mastertalk. I started making YouTube videos on how to communicate ideas effectively. And then 3 years later, it turned into something I never thought it would.
Wow. Yeah, guys, if you get a chance, check out his mastertalk videos. They're excellent. Okay, so you're helping all these guys out. Are they paying you? Is this like a business you're thinking of starting as a paid gig, or how does that work right now?
Oh, yeah. Now it's like a full-fledged business. I coach a ton of executives and CEOs and coaches. But back then, PJ, like this was 3-4 years ago, definitely wasn't a business. I was just making videos for fun. I was a technology consultant at IBM. So it was more like a passion project I was doing. Wow. But as the months and the years progressed, the YouTube channel started skyrocketing and following. And I started getting a bunch of CEOs reaching out and executives saying, hey, I'll pay you whatever. Just coach me. Help me get the result. And I said, oh, you could charge for this? I didn't know that. and I'd find the right business partners. I invested in the right program. So I was able to build a business, and I quit corporate. It's been like almost a year now.
Yeah. What was the mindset though? Like, so when you first got started on that, what was the shift? Where did you, I know you were teaching people, and then you made a YouTube channel. What was that mindset shift to go think, I think I can make a living out of this, or a business out of this?
Yeah, honestly, I got lucky with that. So there's two shifts that happened. So the first shift was the idea for the YouTube channel, like
Mm.
just doing that in general. It was because a lot of the students I coached back in university kept asking me this one question I didn't have a good answer to. And the question was, how did you learn how to speak? And I was like, I don't really know. I just was self-taught. I never did Toastmasters. I never had my own coach. I couldn't afford one back then. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much self-taught. And they said, "Oh, come on! Like, didn't you like watch YouTube videos or something?" I was like, "People do that," and that's when I had the idea to create YouTube videos. That's one piece. The second shift was around the business. So the reason I never thought of turning to a business until maybe 2 3 years ago was because I was already doing really well financially. Because if you get paid as a consultant at a tech company, you get paid well. So I wasn't thinking about, oh, I need to turn this in business.
Yeah.
But I met my business partner at a personal development conference I went to, and he's the one who said, "Yeah, but why don't you do this for a living so you can like create a meaningful impact in the world and do all this stuff? And I'll give you your first clients." And that's what he did, and he wrote me a huge check, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, this is like a business. I could like change the world. I could like be on a podcast instead of just listening to them.
Wow.
I could like be a guest." So
Right.
that's what happened, and I realized that coaching was a more impactful, but also b more profitable because I could re-leverage a lot of that capital I was making from executive clients into more accessible resources. Like if right now I probably invest 10, 15 grand into my YouTube channel, but if I scale this even more, which is starting to happen, I could put 100 grand into media and really bring this to the world. Like put it on Instagram a lot more, put it on TikTok and really expand the brand a lot more. And that's what capital allows you to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So you kind of found you had a need. There was a need in your community, in your area. You were like, I'm just going to figure it out. I'm going to take care. I'm going to take it by the reins and figure out how to do it. And it turned into a business. So what is your client? What does an average client look like for you right now? So like if I were to say, I'm a guy who works in an office and, I got to speak in front of the group sometimes. What can I come to you? Can anybody come to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So most people can definitely go into communication coaching and hire a coach. I would say there's three specific types of people who generally invest in it though. So most people are listening to this, go ahead, check out mastertalk, listen to the YouTube videos, learn for free.
They're
But there's
excellent.
yeah, oh thank you, brother. I appreciate it, man. But outside of everybody, there's pretty like three types of people who would buy a communication service to get there to level up. The first one is the coach who's trying to scale up their business. So they have a coaching practice, they coach in different areas of life. It could be on health, they could be a fitness trainer, and communication allows them to quickly scale up their business. Because if you could speak to 1,000 people as a fitness trainer, you could train more people, impact more lives, and make more
Yeah.
money. So coaching is definitely, we see a lot of coaches joining our programs. The second one is entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur who really wants to scale out their message. So think podcast host, right? They want to be better at communication so they can get more downloads. Think they want to be on a stage so that they can speak longer, talk about the mission, hire more excellent staff into their companies. So we see the entrepreneur as well. And then, of course, the third type is the executive, the corporate employee who wants to get promoted in corporate. That's usually the easiest ROI as well because they get a huge salary spike for mastering communication. So it's well worth the investment. So those are the three that usually buy it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm a podcaster, I guess. I guess maybe. I guess it's officially a podcaster, but I'm not really it's not the full-time gig just yet. Okay. I have a problem then. When I'm speaking, I use the thing that you're never supposed to do when you're speaking to a group of people. I say a lot. So in between thoughts, I fill them. I feel like I have to fill them with something, and it's always or how do I fix that?
Yeah, man, it's a great question, brother. So let's talk about that. The first thing to talk about with filler words is why do we say them in the first place? And the reason most of the time, PJ, is we say filler words to buy time. Right. So let's say you ask me a question, you go, "Hey Brenden, what about filler words?" I might go, yeah, this is the answer. So use it to buy time. Well, now the next question becomes, well, what do the best communicators on the planet do differently? Because they're not smarter than us, right? They probably don't know what to say sometimes too. Like there's always that. But the difference is that when they don't know something or they're thinking, they've replaced filler words with nothing. So let's say you ask me the question again. You go, hey, Brenden, what about filler words? Instead of me going, I just do this. Right, PJ. Absolutely. So this is my thoughts on this. That's it. That's the only difference. So now the final question becomes, how do you go from A to B? How do you go from the person who's going, every 2 sentences to just absolute silence? And there's an exercise, though most people won't implement it. It's really for the warriors in the room.
Write this down, guys. Write this down. Get ready.
This is really for the 5%.
This is the time where you're writing notes down.
Yeah,
it's going to be on the test.
Ideally, people don't just write it down. Ideally, people do it, but it's not everyone's going to do it. But I think you got it, PJ. So I'll give it to you. The strategy is called long stares. So essentially, what you do is you pick somebody that you love in your house, you sit in front of them, you stare at them without saying a word, with no phones, no other distractions, for 3 minutes. I know people who have been married to their significant other for 15, 20 years. I know because a lot of them are clients, and they can't last 30 seconds.
I believe that.
But here's the thing, PJ. If you can last 3 minutes in that long stare and you do it over and over again, that gift will come back to you when you pause in presentations and normal conversation. Another way of paraphrasing this is simple, is that the best communicators on the planet can pause forever without ever making it sound awkward at all. But we don't have forever, so you have to take my word for it.
All right, find someone you care about and look them in the eye and try to stare at them for 3 solid minutes without saying anything, making any comments, anything like that, right?
You got it.
Okay. All right, I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to tell my wife we're doing that here tonight. I don't know if she'll like it, but
she'll love it. Women love this, by the way. My
Perfect.
God. It's
Perfect.
crazy.
Okay. Let's say I've come across this before because I previously had no speaking skills. Like I'd get in front of a group of people and I'd be super nervous. And so I would just stutter and think about what I was going to say. And I would get this block, kind of like a block in front of my mind. So what would you say to the guy was told this morning he's got to speak in front of his office, in front of his coworkers, and he's got to talk about a topic that he knows a little bit about, but not enough. And it's go time. He's in front of the group. Let's go back before that. How can he prepare for something like that? He's only got like 30 minutes to do this, to prepare.
Right. So there's 2 things, right? So what's preventative and what's proactive, right? So in the sense of what can you do on the spot versus what can you prepare for in advance? So let's talk about the next presentation. This one's probably going to be a flop because it's only got 30 minutes, if I'm just being honest, is how do we prepare? And then I'll answer the question more directly, is how do we prepare better when we have a bit more time? So I call this the random word exercise. The random word exercise is super simple. Pick any word, phone, screen, copper, headphones, eyes, and create presentations out of thin air off of those random words. And what this does is it helps you make sense out of nonsense. And what I always like to tell people is if you can make sense out of nonsense, PJ, you can make sense out of anything. So what happens is people who do the random word exercise consistently every single day and proactively with their kids, their nieces, their nephews, their family members, the people around them, they'll be a lot more comfortable with uncertainty, especially when it comes to work, because the uncertainty is not that uncertain. I mean, it's not like nobody's coming to you at work and going, okay, PJ, can you talk about mangoes for 10 seconds? Like nobody's doing that. They're just going, okay, PJ, I need you to give your annual status report, the same boring thing you do every quarter. So just do that again.
Yeah.
So it's not like super shocking or intimidating. Sure, but there might be different executives in the meeting, but the topic remains pretty similar throughout. So that's one piece. But here's the punchline, PJ. The second I said the random word exercise, 95% of them probably just said, oh, that's cool. They already forgot about it. Whereas 5% of the people listening to this or less have already booked 5 minutes in their calendar tomorrow to practice this 5 times a day. And those are the people that become successful. So to your point that, the sweaty guy is getting ready in 30 minutes, that guy needs to book as in the same way everyone's listening to this needs to book 5 minutes, not 5 hours. Everyone's got 5 minutes. You're listening. You've already spent like 15 minutes listening to this. So you definitely got 5, right? Book 5 minutes and every single day and do this. Because if you do this for a month, you'll have done the exercise over 100 times, which is
Can you give us another example of this 5-minute exercise?
Sure. Give me a word.
Water bottle.
Okay. So PJ never gave me the word water bottle. So here I go presenting the random word exercise.
Okay.
It's Sunday morning, and the first thing that I drink, it's not a cup of coffee, okay, because I'm actually more of a tea guy, but it's not a cup of tea either. It's water. Because water, especially out of a bottle, is the most essential resource that you can ever drink every single day of your life. And what's great about the water bottle, PJ, is that essential resource that you have, you don't have to just have it in the morning. You can take it with you to everything that you're doing that day. And a lot of us, we take that water bottle for granted. Imagine if water bottles didn't exist. Wouldn't life be crazy? How would you get your drink? How would you get water without ruining the planet or the environment by buying all of these reusable plastic water bottles? But here's the thing, PJ, is that water bottles aren't the only thing that we take for granted. There's a lot of little things in life that we take for granted too. Like the family members that we love, the dishes that come cleaned without us asking them to be cleaned, the dinner that just happens to be on our table that our significant others made for us or ordered for us. It's those little things that we need to appreciate more. And if we can do that in the same way that one might appreciate a water bottle, will lead a more fulfilling life. Such as an example, the rent we're excited. That's it. Done.
That's excellent. You're building a story around the water bottle versus someone who says, tell me, talk about a water bottle. The vast majority of people are going to look at that and say, it's plastic, it's tall, water tastes good. They're not going to build a story. So and that's that kind of simplifies everything, really. If you go into it thinking you're going to tell a story about everything around the water, inside, outside, what it's made of, what you can do with it, it kind of simplifies really anything. Am I getting that correctly?
Absolutely. And the only small thing I would add on, though, is for the random word exercise, PJ, it's totally okay if people start with describing the object, because that's how most people start. Because I've done it 3,000 times. I want to make sure that's clear to everyone who's listening to this. Like, I didn't just come out of my womb, my mom's womb, and just started doing the random
do
word
it differently
exercise.
Up there in Canada, guys. Totally different.
It's a land thing. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that's the thing, right? So that's the point I wanted to drive. So the first couple of times, and this is what I always tell people, so it's worth writing down, is you do not get rewarded on how well you do the random word exercise. You get rewarded on how many times you do it. Mm-hmm. So the first 10 times, it's going to sound like exactly what you just did, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you do it 100 times, trust me, you'll start to sound a lot like me. A lot quicker than you might think. And if you don't believe me, record your first random word exercise, do it 100 times, which, by the way, only takes 2 hours. Not a long time. It only takes a minute to do the random word exercise once. And then record number 100, and then you tell me which version sounds better.
Okay. I like this. So this is it's really just preparation and consistency. Like, you prepare for it, and then you just consistently do it over and over and over and over until you get to where you're at a comfort level where you can do it. Exactly. Okay, I want to shift gears just a little bit. So I have a friend, Caleb Fowler, and he coaches. Now, let me get this straight. I don't want to screw it up for him. He coaches so that they are able to present to conferences online. So he teaches people how to present online to a large audience. And so I've noticed that there's a lot of shift going towards that. What is the difference then when you're speaking to people in person versus this new, like kind of what we're doing right now, this Zoom calls? What's the difference there? Do we need to structure our the way we talk to people differently? or is it the same? You know, and I'm asking you because I just don't know.
No, you're all good, Peter. So there's three key differences. Number one is eye contact. So eye contact in person, whether it's at a restaurant or whether it's to multiple people on a stage, you're always moving your eyes based on different people you're speaking to. But online, you actually only have to keep your eyes in one direction, which is the camera lens that you're looking at. So even if there's 10,000 people in a Zoom call, if you just stare in one direction, you'll stare at all of them at the same time. That's not true in the real world. You have to keep deviating. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two is energy. So obviously, let's face it, it's a lot easier to show up with energy if we're in person. There's that energy that just can't be replaced, that you can't get online. So the best way around this is to practice offline, not online. Get really good at bringing out your best energy in person and bring that same level of energy here, we're in the online world. That's the way to do it. So like when I started doing podcasts, it was really tough for me, man. It's like really weird. Strangers research you, ask you a bunch of random questions and you're like, what's happening? And now I've obviously shifted. Now it's like, oh, okay, talk to the person like they're an old friend. Talk to them like we've known each other. And since this has been the second time, I'm sure we've known each other for a long time. So there you go. That's number two. Number three is accessibility. Accessibility means just the following to your audience specifically. So if we're in person, I give a workshop and I want feedback, I could just get lunch with you right after. Hey, PJ, let's just go get lunch. Love to get your input, or we'll bring a couple of people in the audience and just go get a bite to eat. And I just want to hear what your thoughts were. You can't do that as easily online because there's a lot more friction. So the way around this is to force the interaction. Get on calls with people, get on Zoom calls with people, message people, say, hey, I'm looking for feedback, love to get on Zoom calls, and build that relationship, and ideally bring those relationships offline. Those are the three key differences.
Right on. What's the criteria for a great speech?
The criteria for a great speech is puzzle, right? So puzzle just means whenever you're thinking about a presentation, think about jigsaw puzzles. You see those pieces we used to do as kids, right? You put them all together. Yeah. So we generally start with the corner pieces. And the reason we start with the corner pieces is because they're easier to find in the box and they're easier to put together. But in communication, we don't do that. We do the opposite. We shove a bunch of content, we ramble through the whole thing, and the last slide sounds something like this. Thanks. It's not the right approach. So instead, what you want to do is you want to present like puzzle. Present your introduction 50 times until it's perfect. Do the same thing with your conclusion. What's a great movie with a terrible ending? Last time I checked, terrible movie, right? 50 seems like a big number, PJ, but it's not, because your introduction is like a minute or two. It'll take you an hour. Same thing with the conclusion, then tackle the middle. And that's how you master the puzzle.
Brenden, I really appreciate you being here, man. Anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
Dude, I'd love to leave with a question, man. The question is, how would your life change if you're an exceptional communicator? That's a lot of us dream about our vacations, the expensive things we want to buy, but very few of us dream about our communication skills. So start reflecting on that question, and you'll build a better life for yourself.
Where, other than the Rockstar Communicator that's coming up next week and the week after, I believe on Fridays, where can people get hold of you? How can people get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely, PJ. So great conversation. Always a pleasure, man. So two easy ways. First one is, to your point, rockstarcommunicator.com. For those of you who are interested in coaching, you want to come to one of my free trainings. I teach a lot of great skills on communication. You have me live in person on the Zoom call. It's super fun. So come join that. And then the second one is definitely the YouTube channel. It's Master Talk in one word. Just search it up. You'll find me there. Master
Talk it is. Brenden, I know you got to take off, so I will let you go. Dude, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on a second time, and see you on Friday.
Yeah, man. Such a pleasure, bro.
Take care, brother.
All right. Peace and love.
Later.